welcome to another episode of Daddy Confessions. I am your host, John, and I'm back. We back. You know what I'm saying? It's this month is Black History Month. It's been going on for a little while now. I got my I'm gonna make my ancestors proud shirt on. You know what I'm saying? This has been on the podcast before. I don't just wear it during Black History Month, though. I wear it other times as well. But I want to welcome you back to the podcast. If you're listening for the first time, welcome in. Happy to have you here. Love to have everyone come in and learn more about how they can handle parenthood. This is a podcast about parenthood, about parenting, really from the father's perspective. So tonight I have some friends of mine, some dads who are here, some alum of the podcast. They are here to talk about their experiences, and I'm going to first allow them to introduce themselves to the people, and I'm going to start with Mike. Mike, go ahead, introduce yourself to the people.
I'm Mike. Not new to Daddy Confessions. Been here once or twice, maybe. I'm a dad, father of 3, 2 boys, 1 girl, and the boys are pretty much adults now, 19 and 21. And then my daughter is younger. She's 13.
Okay. All right.
That's background.
There you go. Hey, Ty, what's up, man? How you doing?
What it do, John? Thank you for having me again, as always. Your boy Ty here with Daddy Confessions. Blended family. I got let's see, Mike gave ages in orientation and all that stuff. So I got 3 boys and a girl. I got the blended. Yeah, it's the blended. I always got to remember. I got in trouble because I didn't do this on Price is Right. So let me get it right now. Let me get it right now. So I got a 20. He'll be 25 in May. A bonus son. I got a 22-year-old son. Damn, he's 22. 22-year-old son. Biological. A 19-year-old who's about to be 20 in about another week, and a bonus daughter that's 19. She'll be 20 in a couple months. So that's what he do.
All right. Finally got it right. He finally got it together. All right. Donnell, what's up, my friend?
Well, I ain't no stranger. You know what I'm saying? What up? You know what I'm saying? I'm Donnell. I got 4 kids. I'm his dad.
Notice he was pointing off to the side, right? He wasn't pointing that way.
He's a wild boy.
So I got a 54-year-old. It's like that. Anyway, no, actually I got 3 kids. I got one son, one biological son. He's 19 going on 20 in October. I have a 15 going on 16 in May. And I also have a 13 going on 14-year-old daughter.
All right. And, I'm John. You know what I'm saying? I got a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old. I got the young ones on the end, and I look the oldest out of everybody. There you go. So, but as you can tell, we run the gambit here. You know what I'm saying? We got adults. We got semi-adults. We got young adults. We got adolescents. We got wannabe adults. We got the whole thing here. And so tonight, we're hoping to have a little bit of a conversation about something that has been kind of floating around in my mind for a while. You know what I'm saying? This comes up often as I think about the fact that I only have boys. I don't have any girls. And God knows that was he did it on purpose. He knew what he was doing. But what I really want to talk about tonight is the idea of defining masculinity or redefining masculinity for our kids. You know what I'm saying? We live in a society that has in some ways moved away from things being masculine or feminine and, very much unisex or non-binary or things like that. And I don't want to discount any of that because there's people who feel that way and that is their reality. And that's an important piece as well. but as as men on this call, as people who identify as men on this call, right? There are things that we grew up with, things that we grew up hearing or feeling or being told, and I want to discuss that a little bit tonight, and how those things have either translated over to our kids or not translated over to our kids. So, I guess the first question that I'll ask is, if you had to pick one thing that you would say has been was told to you that was important for a man to do, what would you say that one thing is?
The one thing that was told to us,
That was told to you, or that it could be told to you, could be what you saw and thought a man's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Anything along those lines. Like what's something that you grew up with as a idea of what a man is supposed to do?
So I can say personally that one thing that was told to me was just how I present myself to others.
Mhm.
Meaning, always look somebody in the eye, shake a person's hand, whether it's a man, shake a man's hand, right hand, firm grip, look him in the eye, those type of things. That's what was told to me. What I gathered just in the world, society in general, growing up, was that a man is always supposed to be strong. He's supposed to be a provider for his family. He's supposed to be a protector. A man is supposed to be, I ain't say stoic, but he's supposed to be, somebody who doesn't waver when it comes to, his beliefs. Those are the things that I would say I grew up learning that it's supposed to be the ideal of what a man is supposed to be.
Okay. I hear that. Anybody else?
I'll jump out there. So for me, I learned at an early age that Tony Montana and Michael Corleone were men, manly men. No, but I mean, I did have an affinity for gangster life when I was like your children's age, John.
Right.
Like 7 and 10. But no, I think for me, I can't say my memory is horrible though. So I was going to say, I can't say that I remember being told how to be a man or being given those things. It was all more inferred.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was military. He was not by any means like one of those Marine, military, just rah, guys. He wasn't like that at all. But, he was, to a lot of the points that Ty brought up, he was stern. He was, he looked you in your eye. He didn't really tell me that I can remember always look a man in his eye or look a person in their eye. Things were just inferred, he carried himself in a way that he expected us to carry ourselves.
Okay.
I have a brother and a sister. I'm in the middle. But just growing up, I had different thoughts of manliness and femininity. When I was a teenager, I was really trying to figure out, being a man, and also noticing guys that weren't, exactly that same manly picture.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So I steered one way, and then as I got older, I steered one way as in what was manly. And then as I got older and I got to have more different types of friends in life, I learned that manliness isn't necessarily what I thought it was. That it didn't always have to be stern. It didn't always have to be stoic. It didn't always have to be powerful, But anyway, I'll defer right there because I'm sure we're going to get into other topics as we go.
Okay. Donnell, what about you?
So much like Mike and much like Ty, I don't for me, like I don't think like being told what a you know what I'm saying, what a man was a thing. It was more like what I saw in my household. You know what I'm saying? You know, my dad being responsible, you know what I mean? Being the provider, being the
Mm-hmm.
protector, you know what I'm saying? All of that, you know what I mean? So but then there was I guess there's a combination too where, you know what I'm saying, things that I didn't necessarily see, you know what I'm saying, my father do, you know what I'm saying, was how I grew up and my peers, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it was, you know, boys don't cry, you know what I mean? Fight back. They only gonna do what you allow them to do, you know what I mean? And those, for me, like those are principles that I still stand on to this day, you know what I mean? And, you know, I just feel like it, you know, being a man is a combination of life experience, if you will, for me.
Okay. I I hear that, and I think that is life experience is a very interesting way to think about it. I think we oftentimes I wouldn't say we negate the fact that our kids learn by what they see from us, but you think you have to teach them lessons, right? You think you have to sit them down and tell them everything, right? You think you gotta you know like tell them exactly what you need them to know and learn, right? And so sometimes that gets us into a place of having to put words to something that we probably never have before. We just assume that, we just did it, you know what I'm saying? And so, when you talk about being a protector, when you talk about, being stoic, taking care of your responsibility, when you talk about things like, even when you don't talk about things like crying or not crying with your kids, right? Like, it actually is a very important nonverbal lesson that kids learn, right? I know that I've heard a lot of people say they never seen their father cry, right? I've never seen my father cry, and men not supposed to cry, and they learn that lesson not because they were told that men don't cry. Maybe they have been, but but even not having ever seen their father cry is a way that they learn that lesson.
It's crazy, John. I don't mean to cut you off, but
No,
it's
go for
crazy.
it.
I literally just was watching a TV show the other day on Fox, and it's about they put a person in the wilderness, and it's a family show, but they put a person in the wilderness. The rest of the family sits back at the headquarters, and they kind of, give the person instruction on how they survive and all this other stuff. But anyway, so right before the person was getting ready to get on the helicopter so they can go drop this person off in the middle of the wilderness, the father, the son was the one who was going out. The son hugged the mother. The father says, we don't hug in this family, talking to the son, and then dapped him up, and then he peaced out. And I was like, yo, that's like wild to me that, like, for you to literally say that out loud, like that we don't hug in this family, like that goes to the whole thing you were just saying, well, some people do tell their sons men aren't supposed to cry, this, that, and the third. And then, like, to me, there's so much toxicity behind of what we believe is supposed to be the stereotypical man.
Right.
Like that. I mean, and I'm not a person who's super liberal about what what people are to be what is to be believe it is today. Don't get me wrong. Like, I believe it's your choice. Do whatever you want to do. But I believe there is a lot of toxicity behind of what a lot of people say it is to be a man. And to see somebody actually do that on TV, live TV, I was like, yo, that was wild to me.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. Can I jump there?
Oh, please go right ahead.
That was a really good term. The toxicity of super masculinity or uber masculinity. It is. I did learn that myself. That is kind of a toxic trait. That some of these guys out here try to be the Superman's man of all men, and I feel like back when I was young, like in the 80s or 70s, 80s, that was kind of a thing. And I feel like as years have gone on and the next generations have come, that we start to realize that was kind of false. That a man is a man regardless of how manly they act. And to those points that we were talking about earlier, like, responsibility, strength, things like that, taking care, protecting, that comes in all different shapes, sizes, and colors, I guess. And I slowly learned that as I went from probably 20 to 30 to 35. By the time I hit 35, the world was different, So
anyway. Let me ask you this. So let me ask y'all this. Y'all don't think, well, do you think that masculinity, you know what I'm saying, there should be like a standard across the board? And so where I'm going with this is, you have other sexes, and I'll just leave it at that, who like to put their opinion on what a man is or what masculinity looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, the controversy is, well, how can you tell me how to be a man? You're not a man. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
You can take it how you want, like I said, other sexes, and I won't just say female. But because I kind of heard y'all say, you know what I'm saying, like being a man comes in different shapes, forms, whatever. You kind of like, I don't know what word you guys use, and what I'm saying in particular, but I'm just saying, like, it's like because think about it like this, right? Like, if a man is not a Superman, then I feel like, I personally feel like, there leaves room for the disrespect. I feel like it leaves room to, question what a man is. You know what I mean? Like, I just, what say you guys? I'm just, I'm saying.
See what you're
so I'm
saying?
playing a little bit of devil's advocate.
I hear you, and this is what I'll say to that, because as you were talking, Donnell, the first thing that popped into my mind is something that, I remember telling my sons, and I've had to, in some ways, walk it back a little bit, but I still believe it, right? But in saying it, it actually speaks volumes about how we are, like, what's what I'm looking for? How we are told we're supposed to act as a man, right?
Okay.
So, like, when you're a little kid and you are told that boys don't hit girls, right? It's like, this is a crazy example as you get an adult, because I don't believe anybody should lay their hands on anybody. But when you are a little kid, and the first thing you are told as a boy is, she hit you, you're not supposed to hit no girls. You don't put your hands on no girl, right? At a point feels like it makes sense. But when a 4-year-old gets hit by another 4-year-old, I think you should defend yourself. And so I think that is like, that's just an example for me of, like, there's a level at which that changes because of things like, physical difference and things like that. But like, when my 4-year-old gets pushed down by a girl, I'm like, look, get up and push her back. Like,
I was about to say, John, too, saying and it may not be any of us, right? But what would you say the percentage of how many men have the emotional intelligence? We talking grown men that wouldn't put their hands on a female. Growing up,
right,
knowing it's not good to put their hands on a female. Because there's a lot of dudes out there now, they ain't got no problem putting their hands on a female.
Right.
And I've been in all the time.
And I've been in situations where females that put their hand, where females put her hand on me, and I had to restrain myself because, like, growing up, I've learned, don't put your hand on the female. So I've had to grab her, and like I said, shake this.
No, but I mean, like real talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. You know, you shouldn't put your hands on a female, but the reality is, it's possible you might put your hands on a female.
Oh yeah, and nowadays, so I'll say it this way. So two things really. There has been no who wrote the book on what it is to be a male and what it is to be a female. Who wrote the book? There as far as I know, there is no book on parenting. There's no book on being a husband. There's no book on being a male. There's no book on being a female. None of this was, this was all ordained by God. God said, "Let there be," and so there was, right? And so over this course of time, people have come up in their own mind of what a male should be and how he should act versus what a female should be and how a female should act. So second point to that is, as time has gone on, all of that has been, I guess you could say, redefined to a certain extent, where people have come out and said, "Oh, I'm a male, but I feel like a female." Or I'm a female, but I feel like a male. So I can do the things that males can do because da-da-da-da-da. Or I'm a male and I can do the things that females can do because da-da-da-da. So to John's example about putting your hands on somebody, like, I've learned even in my marriage, my wife believes, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you male or female. If you a female putting your hands on a male, you got to know the consequences of putting your hands on somebody else that who could potentially do something to you. So keep your hands to yourself. Either way, it shouldn't be like you said. Like when we grew up, it was males do this and males don't do this. Females do this and females don't do that. And that's the way it was. But as times have gone on, later, in my opinion, later in the 2000s, don't get me wrong, you did have the LGBTQ back then. It just wasn't the LGBTQ. It was just the L and the L and the G. Yeah, back then. And now they got all the letters and so on, all that other good stuff. And so now, in my opinion, a lot of the lines have been blurred. But again, are they really blurred considering the fact of who the hell wrote the book in the first place?
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to put this in here right now because I should have did it at the beginning. But the views of these gentlemen are not the views of the Daddy Confession podcast. And we gonna keep it together because kids might listen to this. So, but that does not take away from Todd's point or the reality of the fact that we live in a time we live in a period of time where there are, as Donnell said, there are other people trying to tell you how to be a man, how to be a woman, like or whatever, you know what I'm saying, and that is kind of the crux of what we are dealing with as parents as well, because as parents, the values that we have are the values that we want to give to our kids. We have outside influences from the world that have their own set of goals and values and things like that they also want to give to our children, and we have to be at a place in our family, in our home, to like really kind of lean on what matters most to us. Now, I can't guarantee that, and I may have said this on this podcast before, that some of the views that came from my mother were not innately racist or sexist or whatever is, you know what I'm saying? But that's the house that I grew up in. And so that was what I started with. That was my starting point. And where I went from there, that was an individual thing. You know what I'm saying? I made up my own mind on how I was going to take those lessons learned, the things that I experienced, the people that I met, and have that be a part or not a part of my life. Which brings me to my next question, which is, how has the media influenced what you think a real man is? You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
Got an opinion down there? Got an opinion.
I don't know. I don't know if this is kind of like right. To me, I don't know if this is kind of like spot on, because it's not necessarily the media. It's more so like the TV shows that I'm watching nowadays.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I feel like watching two men kiss is being forced on me, because it's like in everything you watch now. You know what I mean? Like something that can be like a great show for me, I'll be like, wait, like how, Sway? You know what I'm saying? Like it just comes out of nowhere, and I just feel like instead of it, being the tradition, like in the traditional type family, and I get that, what I'm saying, the world has evolved. I just feel like it's in almost everything now.
And everything. So, Donnell, let me ask you this question. And TV is media, like Mike said, but
Yes.
is there a difference? And I'm not against what you're saying, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. It pops
Mhm.
out of nowhere, and I'd be like, yo, is that really necessary in this show? But two things. All right. Is there a difference when it's two women, though? Because they were showing two women for quite some time before they, I guess, were allowed to show two men kissing.
You know what?
So-
I don't think they were though. I really don't think they were. I think we believe that they were, but I don't think that same-sex couples in general were on television
The way that they are.
in regular family entertainment, you know what I'm saying, evening entertainment, the way that we like are seeing it now. And I don't, men and men and women and whatever, like it just I don't believe it was that way.
You're probably right.
In the 80s and the 90s. I believe that as men we probably recognize the two men kissing more than we recognize two women kissing. But I believe that if it were two women kissing when I was growing up, when I was 7, 11, 13, you know what I'm saying, I probably would have asked the same questions that my kids are asking.
You're right. And like I said, you probably, that's why it was a question. I'm not saying it was whether it was or whether or not. I just know, me personally, I recognize, like Donnell said, it's a lot more dudes doing it now on TV, or they're putting a lot more dudes on TV now doing it than I have ever noticed in the past. And to Donnell's point, it's problematic for me as well, because it's in a lot of cases it's unnecessary. It's a show that I watch, and it's a show that I watch on a regular basis, and the dude was straight. He had chick after chick after chick after chick, and all of a sudden, in the last season, he decides to play with his sexuality, and it's like, well, and now he's messing with another dude, and they're kissing, and I'm like, well, where did this ever come from? But
Did y'all watch?
Huh?
Did you watch the show 911?
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, dude was straight the entire. He messed with the reporter.
I'm talking about getting through him. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. The last season, he wanted to mess with another. Just like, yo, where did this come from all of a sudden? But it's the same. It's the same when it comes to just having the portrayal of, Black men and families in general in media and TV. A lot of media you'll see it's mom and kids. The black dad ain't there. A lot of media you'll see it's mom and the black man is not there. So it's like you said, Donnell, it's a lot of stuff that's being portrayed out there in the media that somebody got to step up and say, yo, enough is enough, because it is influencing our kids, and influencing society, and so on and so forth. Go ahead, Mike.
I agree with that. I want to also say that I do believe there is an agenda. Now, whether that's a positive agenda, negative agenda, right agenda, or wrong agenda, but it is an agenda. Because it's an agenda in the sense of representation.
Mm-hmm.
Just like back in the 80s, we were screaming, why is there not more Black representation on TV? Black families, Black regular, non-ratchet, things. So there was an agenda to help push that along, because representation matters. We, as Black folks, we say that a lot. Representation matters. What we see, what we have access to. So that is the LGBT, the alphabet community. I don't know if that's even right to say. But that community is large. It's influential in entertainment, and they want representation. There's a lot more natural of alternate situations than we are privy to, because it is shunned to a lot of people. It is, off key to a lot of people. So it was off for the most part hidden. And then over the years, and then it exploded, I guess back in 2010 or so. And I just threw that date out there. But it ramped up, but when I think about it, I think about it as like I said, as representation. I've learned, and I didn't learn this until I was well into my adulthood. I learned that my preferences are just that. They're my preferences. I can't speak for other people. I don't know what other people prefer, but I may not like to see two ugly people kiss on on TV, and get the same feeling that I see when two men, because I'm just like, why do we gotta watch that? I want to see pretty people kiss, so it's just one of those things. It's like I said, it's preference,
So let me ask y'all this too. Let me ask y'all this too, because I guess the question is, what's acceptable, what's not, maybe what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, or I guess questioning masculinity, right? And so, I think about. Well, let me rewind for a quick second. How many of y'all felt like a dude was like, oh, that dude's soft, you know what I'm saying? But he's still a man. You know what I mean? He may not have grown up like us. You know what I'm saying? I know I've said it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but fast forward, or to my point, like, and I kind of go back to this whole standardizing, masculinity. For your daughters, what kind of man would you want your daughters to be with? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like I want my daughter to be with a protector, a provider. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of like who I am and who my father is.
Right. Yeah. So Donnell, to your question, I don't have daughters, but this is why this conversation even kind of bubbled to the top, right? The conversation that you and I had a couple of weeks ago. One of the things I asked you was about, whether it was okay for your daughter to go out and shovel snow, you know what I'm saying, cut the grass, and thinking about, why that seemed to be more of something that we look to our boys to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the importance behind that, and is there an importance behind that?
I think so.
And to that piece of what do we look for? What do we want for our daughters? You guys, what do you guys want for your daughters? I don't have daughters. In terms of like, a man, like what are those characteristics? You know what I'm saying? What are the characteristics that anybody that chooses to be with your daughter, number one, and number two, if your daughter chooses a man, what are the characteristics that man should have?
I mean, I just think that I think that there's like an unspoken. There's certain things that's just unspoken. You know what I mean? Like, do I want my daughter shoveling snow or cutting grass? No. Will I show her how to do it to be independent? I absolutely will. But I think that and even with my teenage boys, there should never be an instance, and I told my son this, I said there should never be an instance where, you know what I'm saying, one, your sisters or your mother shouldn't be, doing these things. You know what I'm saying, as long as you're in the household. So like, absolutely go out and insert yourself and take over if that's the case. Matter of fact, you should be the one, you know what I'm saying, being the I don't know, initiator of, noticing the grass needs to be, some yard work needs to be done. You know what I mean? Like, that's just me.
So I agree with you, Donnell, and I'm not knocking what you're saying at all. But and your son is around the same age as my daughter, and my daughter said something a couple weeks ago that made me go, okay, where they're the guys that she hangs out with, a lot of guys, and a lot of guys that she hangs out with, she says pretty much won't let her do things that she's probably used to or accustomed to, i.e., opening her own door, or when she's driving the car and then one of them in the car with her, pumping her own gas. They'll pump the gas. They won't. They will literally tell her, get back in the car. Don't touch that door. I don't care if I'm across the room. I'm gonna come across the room, open the door for you. Blah 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 blah, so on and so forth. And to your point, and I think to John's point, he mentioned earlier, I think there's a level of independence in which females have grown accustomed to. And so my question in return is, so what do you do when you have a female who says, I like to cut my own grass? I don't need you to open the door for me. I don't need you to pump my gas. Just be whatever, because I don't, in my personal opinion, I don't believe cutting the grass, opening the door, whatever those typical stereotypical things that men are supposed to do defines you as a man, in my opinion. I believe men should do them. Yes, I believe men should do them hands down over a woman. Yes, hands down. But if a woman turns and says, "Yo, I like to cut my grass. I like to change my own oil, or I like to, do these other things," I'm going, more power to you, sister. Like, let me know when you need my help. I'm here. That's my job. I'm here to support you and do what you want to do. But I can't take it away from you. If that's if you feel that's your independence and that's how you want to do things and so on and so forth, knock yourself out.
I agree. I would agree with that. Like I said, you know what I'm saying? It's more of a, I guess in those type situations, it's, whatever makes you happy, like be happy. But, I just, I guess, what I'm saying, just thinking about it, like I just initially like nah, these are the things that I'm going to do. Like it's almost like it's kind of like setting boundaries, but at the same time, you kind of like defining roles in your relationship.
So one of the things that I do, of course, and make sure my daughter's aware when I'm walking with her, because she loves to walk and hold my arm or hold my hand, and I make sure that she's always on the other side, not where the cars are driving, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, when she is and she tries to walk, I move her, and I let her know. But at the same time, it's like, I want her to understand that she is who she's supposed to be, but dudes are supposed to be that protector. Dudes are supposed to, want to shield you from things,
Yep.
And so, these are things that I let her know and try to instill in her. I don't expect her to grow up and demand it, but I'm going to expect or hope that that's what she leans towards, or, she has one dude not doing it, one dude who does things like that. She'll, lean more towards the dude that does the chivalry stuff, and I think that's where I kind of am with it.
Okay.
Not demanding, but I want her to know the difference.
Yeah. Well,
and what's respectful.
I understand that. Now, let me ask you guys this. What part do your wives play in, understanding or defining masculinity in your house? You know what I'm saying? With your kids. Like, what part do you think, and maybe you can, if you don't want to put it in terms of your wife specifically, what part do you think that women play in that whole
I'll
process?
say this. I will say this. And and it's probably something that never really kind of like stuck with me growing up, was the part that my wife played is the accountability part. Because I guess for me for the longest time, like I know what it looks like for me. You know what I mean? Like, it may be apologize for something that you didn't do. You know what I'm saying? Just to keep the peace in the household. But you know what I'm saying? But for her, it's how do you be accountable for the things that you do, good, bad, or indifferent. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, move on from it without it happening again.
Okay. Accountability. Yeah.
I know. So specifically, I can speak to both of my situations because y'all know I was married previously, and I had a conversation with my ex-wife not too long ago. Well, it was a while ago now, but it was when my kids, specifically my boys, were older. And my boys will call me all the time and be like, "Mom, is da 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 da, Mom, is da 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 da, she this, that, and the third, da 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 da." And so I never had a problem with anything that my ex-wife has ever done to raise our kids, because I felt like whatever she's done, she has your best interest at heart. She has your love. But we did have a conversation one day, and it was about the way that she raised the boys because they primarily were with her and were with me like every other week or on weekends, this, that, and the third. But they primarily lived with her. And so when we had a conversation, she says, "Yo, I'm raising black young men. I can't go soft on them." So yes, I put my foot down and I put my foot up their tails because they need to understand that this is not what the world is going to be like. So I got to show them what the world is going to be like. Yes, you are their dad. Yes, you are in their life. And yes, you haven't gone anywhere, all that good stuff. So I'm not trying to take your place. However, I do feel like as a mom, I can't show them that soft side, which honestly, I really wish, I think in my personal opinion, that's what it should be. The mother, like, to Donnell's point, should be, should show the accountability, the softer side, what they should expect from females, what they should expect from male, this, that, and the third. And the father should come in and be the more, not necessarily disciplinarian, because the father, doesn't always have to be the disciplinarian, but the father should actually, set the tone of what a man should be doing, this, that, and the third, so on and so forth. So I will say that, my ex-wife, she's one who's like, "Yo, I got to do what I got to do to show my boys how it is as a black young man in this world." And what I was going to say earlier, even about that, is I think that's difficult for a female to do because, to Donnell's point earlier, a female is not a man, has never been a man. So it's kind of hard to show a little boy how to be a man if you're a female. Just as my personal opinion. Like John said, the views of the people in the show are those of that. So that's my personal opinion. That is. But on the flip side of that, like my current wife, she is like the softest thing ever when it comes to like our boys. She's like, "Oh my gosh, no, they shouldn't be in trouble. Oh no, you should coddle." And I'm like, no, they need to learn and understand. But at the same time, I like it because they need to have a little bit of comfort and motherly love, comfort and whatever from a female to say, "Yo, that it doesn't have to be hard all the time. You have, you have a softer side or there's this other side that can be shown versus what your dad is showing you because he understands what the plight is to be a black male in the United States."
Okay. Good point. My wife's, we both have very similar views on roles, I guess, and what we want our kids to see. And I'm going to use her saying for this one, we're raising human beings, so regardless of the gender spectrum, regardless of, the society roles, you're going to be respectful. You're going to be responsible, accountable. You're going to be strong because people are not going to push you over. That's male and female. So a lot of these, and I found that a lot of these things, I guess there's no other way to say it, but go both ways. The same things that you think of when you think of masculinity, if you break it down, strength. You want your daughters to be strong too. Mm-hmm. Black women pride, strength, accountability, same thing. Provider, that's that thing, they need to be able to provide for themselves, and again, as we get later in the years, a lot of those roles are changing where the man doesn't have to be the dominant provider anymore, because women are doing a lot more in the workforce. Men had to be more of the dominant provider because women weren't allowed in that workforce. Right. And that's one of the reasons for that stereotype. But, now, things are changing a little bit. But I guess what I'm saying is that we don't really purposely separate, this is what a man should do, this is what a woman should do. We are purposely showing what responsible, kind, and good human beings should do. That's what we focus on. And we feel like the rest comes from our, example.
So I'm gonna say something that is a little bit harsh. May feel a little bit harsh, but as we talk about being men, and as Ty put it, like sometimes we have to teach our boys, our kids, how harsh the world can be. Do you think that we are in fact creating an environment where our kids might hate us? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like by putting them in, and hate is a strong word, and maybe hate is not the word, but that they, what's another word?
No, you're right, John.
They rejected it. I'm with you.
You as a parent, because of the tough love and the environment that you.
I did not like my father being the disciplinarian he was. And I said I did not have a good relationship with my dad because he, to me, when I was a teenager or adolescent, he could never see me just chilling. I always had to be doing something.
I hated that.
Like first thing he would do when he'd come home, if he saw me chilling or sitting on the couch or on the phone or whatever, you done your homework? If that answer was yes, you cleaned your room. If that answer was yes, did you do this? Did you do that? Go do it. And I resented that. I was like, damn, I cannot never have a moment, around you. And I think that's what it was. It wasn't just, can I never have a moment? Because I do when they're not around. But can I never have that moment around you? And I think I missed that. And I don't want to say missed that. I think I yearned for that. And I didn't even realize it, And so as a result of that, I didn't have a good relationship with them until I got into college. And, unfortunately, he only had a few more years after that. So, I try to do, to go back to the point, and my answer to that point was, it has to be a balance. The harsh disciplinarian, I feel like, yes, they do need to see that. They do need to feel the harshness and realize the harshness that the world is going to bring, because we're not always going to be there to shield you, to be that umbrella, but at the same time, we also have to balance and show them, even as men, show them that softer side, show them that, I can be compassionate too. I feel like it has to be a balance of both to give them the most support that they would respect as an adult.
And I personally, I agree with Mike. There has to be a balance, but I also believe that there has to be, it has to be done in love. You're not just out there. I'm not getting ready to beat you just because I'm angry, because you didn't do what I told you to do, or I'm about to beat you, or I'm about to punish you because of X, Y, and Z. There has to be the balance of, I need to show you how to love all, but there also needs to be, as they get older, a little bit of an explanation as to why I'm doing and why I am the way I am towards you. And it's not that I don't love you any less. It's not that I don't, don't care for you, because I've gotten to confrontations. I've gotten to confrontations with one of my sons, and one of my sons got at me, and I seriously had to laugh because he wrote me this long. I was about to curse. Sorry. He wrote me this long text message saying, well, you made me do this and you made me do that. And when I asked you for this, you didn't give me this and you didn't da-da-da-da-da. And I laughed at it. Like, I was upset reading it. But then when I went back and read it again, I laughed at it because I'm going, dude, all the things that you just listed were things for your own benefit. They weren't benefiting me. They were for your own benefit. You may not have saw it now. I mean, you may not have saw it then, but I guarantee you he sees it now. He's like, oh, shoot, he did have me doing all that stuff so I can get money for college. Or he had me doing this so I can make sure that I got to where I am right now for X, Y, and Z. Like, but at the time, he was like, yo, my dad's an ass. Like, and it wasn't me trying to intentionally be that way. It was to show him, yo, you got to be on your P's and Q's, because unfortunately, because of the color of your skin, you do sometimes have to work a lot harder than your counterparts. And I understand in the environment in which you were raised in, because I put you in that environment of those who don't look like you. So that way you can have a better experience in life of education and this, that, and the third, but you can't forget who you are, what you look like, and where you came from. So yes, I do have to be hard on you to a certain degree, but it's out of love and it's out of respect. It's not, I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm not trying to come at you because I just want to be an ass, or I had a bad day, so I'm taking it out on you, or whatever the case may be. I have to show you, the things that I'm showing you, the discipline and so forth, out of love. As well as Mike said, the balance. One of the things that we don't do as married people in general, a lot of times what happens is in marriages is we argue and we fight as husband and wife, but we never show our kids what the makeup was like. We make up behind closed doors. And it's the same thing with our kids. Like, we get after our
makeup.
We're supposed to do the same thing even when it comes to discipline. Like Mike said, I kind of grew up in a little bit of like Mike did. Why you ain't doing nothing? You need to be going to do it. But at the same time, it's okay. Let's go out and let's go have some fun. Let's go to the park. Let's go play football. Let's go to a game. So you kind of got that balance and showing and understanding that whatever was done the other way was done out of love for the betterment of me later on, not just because I wanted to be a bad dad or mean or this, that, and the third, which is even why I understand why my ex-wife was, the way that she was for our boys growing up. She was doing it out of love. And they just didn't understand it.
I got a couple more questions for you guys, and it's interesting that you talk about like, taking your kids out to do things, or your father taking you out to do things. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder, and again, this is somebody who didn't grow up with my father in the house. He ain't good for nothing. But anyway, but I wonder, because I do that with my sons, right? Like, it's like I will discipline them, I will be upset with them, but then at the same time I have, what I'm saying? Okay, prime example, you guys know the kind of the old way you say how people make up, right? They never say I'm sorry. They just be like, you want something to eat, or what I'm saying?
That's usually women, John. Women do
right. But so the idea behind that is similar though, right? Like, because it's easier not to say I'm sorry or to explain why you did something.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to just try to show them affection in different ways. You know what I'm saying? And they might even know it's affection, right? Like, you might say, let's go to the arcade, or let's go play video games, or let's go watch a movie together. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's whatever. In arcade, they don't have arcades anymore, but let me take you to the go-kart track. You know what I'm saying? You go
take you to go-go.
Right, you go do something with the kids, and that's your way of trying to like be apologetic for the fact that you had to be the hard parent in that moment.
Okay.
Like, do you think that is enough? I mean, the kids don't read between the lines. I mean, do we need to say, I'm sorry, it hurt me, to have to discipline you in that way, or like, I feel bad that I had to do that. Like, should we do more of that? Are you guys doing that?
I do. I feel like there is a place for that. But I've always been that transparent dad. I've always tried to let them know where I'm coming from. I've always tried to let them know what I've done, in the past. Not everything, but a lot of things, and I don't shield that. I've always been that transparent dad because I feel like if nothing else, it sets an example again, and it gives them a reference point, but that's me. And I know every dad's not like me, not good or bad, just not like me.
I've grown
like us.
I've grown to be, because I grew up with the, kids should be seen and not heard, and I shouldn't have to explain myself to them, this, that, and the third. And I will say, earlier on in my parenthood, being a parent, I was that type of parent. I ain't got to explain nothing to you.
Because I said so.
Right. Do it because I said so, dagnabbit. That type of parent. And I will say, as I've gotten older, and I think it's a progressive thing because kids understand more as they get older. I have been more explaining more as to why I'm doing this and that and the third. Compared to, like I said, maybe when I was younger, more of a newer parent, I was more the disciplinarian, do it because I said so. I told you da 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 da. Versus, all right, now do it because you need to keep your room clean so you won't be trifling when you grow up, so you won't have bugs, roaches, and ants in your room, da 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 da, all that type stuff. So I've gotten better with that over time, I will say.
Okay. Any comment on that, Donnell?
Just don't give a.
He's like, nah, man, I don't never say I'm sorry.
That's not true. That's not true. I have, you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess for me, it's more like I empathize, sympathize. For me, it's, I was a kid once, but I think, my message with all my kids is, you know what I mean? Like, just be, what word am I looking for? Gosh, not accountable, but more like responsible.
Responsible, yeah.
Yeah, be responsible. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, the things that I say can't always fall on deaf ears because, it's going to come to a head for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that parent to be like, oh, I'm going to drill you. I'm going to ask once, I'm going to ask twice, and then I'm going to explode. So that's just my view.
But and as a lot of us parents, fathers, mothers, and everybody else in between have learned, that is usually how kids understand stuff. Like, it's crazy.
Yep.
My wife was fussing at the daggone Google AI this morning, and she's like, she asked, like, what time is it? And it didn't answer. And she's like, what time is it? Didn't answer. And she's like, Google, what time is it? And she's like, I gotta talk to you like I'm talking to a kid, because that's how it is with kids. Like, usually you be like, hey, you dropped something, go pick that up. You dropped something, go pick that up. Ninja, you dropped it, go pick it up before I put my foot in it. And then they be like, and like, that's how kids understand stuff.
Right. So, I don't know why that is, but I'm like, yo, so you just gonna have me get my blood pressure up because you don't never want to, you know what I'm saying? Because I got it. If I don't raise my voice, apparently it don't mean nothing. Okay, I got you. That's where we at. Okay. And so, well, you know what, fellas? Thank you guys for this. It helps me to know that I ain't crazy. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just me. We all going through it. And, I think that I'm gonna leave it with this last little piece. You know what I'm saying? I think that it is important for us to have our children understand, that this world is not easy. You know what I'm saying? I think it has, for me, it play out every morning when I wake up and I turn on the news, which I don't do often, but recently I've been turning it on, and I can't help but to laugh because this world is out of control. You know what I'm saying? But for people who have not experienced difficulty, people who have lived a life where the world everything has come easy to them or been given to them, or they've never had to struggle for anything like this. It breaks lesser people. And I think what we are creating, not just as men but as Black men, are greater, stronger people. You know what I'm saying? We teaching them lessons in this world beyond just taking out the trash, shoveling snow. You know what I'm saying? We teaching them that no matter what this world throws at us, we have the resilience and the ability to move beyond that if we so choose. And we just gotta have the mental fortitude, you know what I'm saying, to move beyond that. And that is something that I try to teach my kids every chance I get. You got to have the mental fortitude to move beyond that. Like, whatever thing you dealing with, whatever you see happening, whatever nonsense is coming your way, you can get beyond that. And and some of that is as a man, but some of that is just as Mike put it, as a human being, and being prepared for the world that's out there. So thank you guys for being here for another episode of the Daddy Confessions podcast. A reunion of sorts of the Millionaire Man Cave, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I appreciate you guys always being on call whenever I need you and having these kind of conversations with me. I always love it. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening. Check out other episodes both on YouTube and on all your favorite podcast apps. You know what I'm saying? We putting out episodes twice a month, trying to do it twice a month now, trying to be better at this. And you can go back and watch all the old episodes, listen to all the old episodes. And I hope that you have enjoyed and got something out of this one. Come back next time for another episode of Daddy Confessions Podcast. Thank you for listening. Peace.
Appreciate you, John. Peace.